welcome to the second episode of the new season of the OML RRC Podcast, Word on the Street. In this episode, we will be honoring veterans for Veterans Day. We'll be talking about veterans and their presence here on SCU's campus. I am Nicole. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an SIE in the RRC this year. And today I have Keanu here with me, a representative from the Veterans Club. Keanu, please tell me just a little bit more about yourself and your involvement here on campus.
Hey, Nicole, thank you so much for having me. My name is Keanu Spindola. I'm a third-year business management major, minoring in real estate construction management. And a little bit about my background. So after high school, I ended up joining the Marine Corp. I didn't really feel like college was for me right off the bat. I come from a first-generation household. College wasn't really talked about at my house. And the military was appealing to me in the sense that they would provide for me and my family a way to move forward. They pay for college. They now give me healthcare and a wide array of other benefits that, I'm really grateful for. That's a little bit about that.
Yeah, what are some of your involvements on campus?
Regarding campus, so little transparency. I transferred Winter Corps this past year, and if I'm being honest, I had a really tough time. I'm coming into college a little bit older. I'm 25, soon to be 26, and sometimes I felt a little bit out of place. I didn't know if I could really connect with the other students here because of the age difference. So slowly and surely, I kind of got out there a little bit more. I didn't share my identity off the bat because I didn't know how it would be received. So I kept that hidden for a few months. I joined some Greek life. I joined Greek organizations and other Latinx clubs on campus. And slowly, as I felt more comfortable around them, I was like, hey, I'm Keanu, and I was also in the service. I was in the Marine Corps, and they're like, what? You were in the military? Oh, we had no idea. And I'm like, yeah, it's not a thing I really like to talk about because I don't know how it's going to be perceived. But now over time, as I've gotten more comfortable with my peers, and I've understood, I guess, my history a little bit, the military's history, the United States history. I see myself in a different light, if that makes sense. I didn't know how to tell everyone that, hey, I served. So I guess now me serving to me feels like I have a duty to my community, to my people, to educate them on what the military is, what the community and culture is like. And to also be transparent with the not so great stuff as well. In 2020, that was a really rough year for a lot of us, and it was it was an awakening for me, if I'd like to say so. With George Floyd and this other person named Vanessa Guillen, she was an Army soldier stationed in Fort Hood, Texas, I believe, and she ended up getting murdered by another of her fellow soldier. And the military did nothing about this for months on end. Her family had to get involved. Civilian officials had to get involved for something finally to happen. And that really shook me to my core. She was also first generation. She was also Latina, and she also had dreams of higher education. In a sense, I saw her as my sister, and a lot of other service members saw themselves in her because of what happened to her. So I just wanted to share that as well, that, hey, we are a diverse group of people that are also going through these things to not necessarily do it for us, but for the betterment of either our parents, our families, or, our community and our people.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's definitely a really hard situation, a hard story to hear about. At least there were efforts to finally get something going on her behalf. Okay, so we're going to jump in to some questions about you and your experience in the military. So what's the story of your enlistment? How old were you? Some reasons? What branch of service were you in? Anything you want.
Yeah. I joined straight out of high school, 18 years old, really not knowing what I wanted to do. To be honest, I didn't even know community college was an option. I didn't see myself going to school like at all whatsoever. And ironically, like I actually started going to school while I was in the service. I had some good people encouraging me, supporting me throughout my time in the Marine Corps. And they're like, "Hey, Keanu, like you seem pretty smart. Like go to school or go do something." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Like I'll go." And then slowly and surely, I just started knocking out my general electives, and these classes were on base. And I guess that's where it kind of education or higher education kind of started piquing my interest, because it was a really I was surprised of how diverse the class was. It was veterans, active duty, people from all different kinds of backgrounds, uh, dependents of military people and their kids going to these classes. And the professors there or the teachers were awesome too, because like it wasn't a class just of like 18, 19-year olds. It was a group of like relatively mature people with diverse backgrounds. And we were talking about like I wouldn't say heavy stuff, but it made us think. So that's kind of where my educational journey started. And then my time in the Marine Corps, I feel like I really, really grew up in a sense. Like the day you're there, it's like you're treated as an adult. You're expected to take the initiative, take responsibility for your actions, put others before yourself. And I really learned to appreciate that, because it is helping me now, as a young adult here at Santa Clara, in my life, at work. Um, and I noticed that people kind of look up to me in a sense because of those qualities and those traits. And I kind of just think I'm honestly like I'm just some guy. Like I'm going through my own things too. I'm here to take care of my things. And I was funny, like I was doing lead. I did the lead scholars program this summer, and in one of the activities, you're supposed to write like 2 letters anonymously to someone in the class, just to like to thank them, right? And I ended up getting like an extra 3 cards from other people that were like, "Hey, like we're looking up to you. Like, thank you for being yourself. You're an inspiration to us." And it's like, oh, like my heart, like thank you. Like it helps me continue doing what I'm doing in my everyday things. Because it's a struggle for me too. Like college, the Marine Corps was one thing, but damn, like college is something else. Like there's a rough few days in there, like midterms, finals, just like balancing everything else in life, man. So I'm happy where I'm at now. Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been quite a transition to go from like your first higher level education, being such a mixed classroom, to coming here and being like the oldest one and like having such a different experience than everyone else here.
Dude.
What's that like, being
Okay.
classed with 17, 18-year-olds?
I I wanted to touch on that too. I wanted to talk about a little bit like coming out like of the military. It's such a regimented, everything is structured, everything has a purpose, and like coming out of the military, like that was a culture shock for me, if I'm being honest. I was used to like working with people that would kind of just suck it up, get it done. We wouldn't really talk about our feelings. It would be the mission comes first, you can take care of yourself later. And like I did appreciate that in a sense, and we had this sense of camaraderie that I would legitimately trust the person to the left and to the right of me to what's the word, I guess, save my life if they needed to, and I would do the same for them. And then like coming out here, it's like I see none of that. I see like a lot of individualism, not a lot of camaraderie. Like it was hard, really hard for me to trust people and allow myself to be vulnerable with others. And then kind of coming into higher ed, it was still like that same thing. Like I know I'm the oldest one in the class. I'm probably going to stick out like a sore thumb. I don't necessarily want to stick out, but at the same time, like it's going to happen regardless, because of just the way I am, like just my character. And I guess also the way I'm in class, I feel like I'm more engaged. I'm more like participant. I'm paying attention in class. And the professors see that like, oh, you're really engaged. And the conversations I have with them and my other peers as well, like people start to take note of that. And then eventually, as I get more comfortable with them, they get more comfortable with me. Let them know, like, oh, like, by the way, I was also in the Marine Corps. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, no wonder you're so like mature or like so respectful or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. So so being around 18, 19-year-olds, it's different, but they also, I mean, I'm also surprised about like how smart these individuals are, like where they came from, what they have had to overcome to get to college, what they're doing now, what their aspirations are. And like I feel like not I guess I would feel empowered around them. It's like, we're all going through this, we're all going through this college thing. And the fact that we're all willing to kind of just like listen to each other's histories, perspectives and opinions, like I feel comfortable there, Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm glad it's not too bad. What was
Yeah.
it like being the youngest one? Well, I'm sure there was other people who were 17, 18-year-old when they first enlisted, but like, what were the early days like when you first got there? Like, what was that like?
Yeah. So you ever heard of the expression of, he drank the Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
I kind of drank the Kool-Aid. Like, we're all young, we're all like motivated. We all wanted to serve for one reason or another. And so we're there. We're committed. We're prideful of wearing the uniform. We're proud of our time in service. But it's not until like, I guess you get a little older, you start to see like the reality of things, that you're like, does this align with my values, with my person anymore? And like it didn't. Like after, I guess like it was like the first year that I was in, the unit that I was in was non-deployable, so I didn't get to go deploy. I didn't get to go see anything in the world. So I just stayed in San Diego my entire time, Camp Pendleton, and I started going to school. And I started learning more about my history, my culture, the military's history, the United States history. And it's like, like we kind of played a part in some things that were maybe not the greatest, but that were also beneficial in some sense to some people. And so I feel like in a sense, I have a responsibility to not necessarily fix those problems, but try to do something to improve those situations, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like an active critique.
Yeah, like an active critique, like an active critique. So
the Kool-Aid's wearing off a little bit.
The Kool-Aid wore off. And here's the thing, like I don't consider myself a patriot. Like I'm not like, yeah, America, like it's great. Like it has its issues, but I was born here and I do contribute a lot of my success to being born here. Like there aren't a lot of countries that you can, be first generation and serve in the military, get your college paid for, and start building generational wealth for your family, for future generations. Like people don't immigrate to Russia, people don't immigrate to China. They come here. My parents came here because they saw the American dream, which is something that we're still chasing to this day, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to get to that. But yes, the Kool-Aid is wearing off, and it's more in the sense that I'm doing it for the people. I'm doing it for the people that swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution, that did it for maybe not necessarily the country, but for the people that were to the left and to the right with them. Like I'm not doing it for someone over in Washington. No, I'm doing it for the people that are next to me, So that's my thing.
I think that's a really beautiful message. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. SIE Nicole here with a little ad break to let you know of some of the events we have coming up. First things first, there will be no Career Craft Corner this week 8, because I will be out of town, but we will be back week 9 as previously scheduled. And what will we be doing week 9? Well, let me tell you. Friday, November 18th, we will be doing some pulled string art. That will be going on from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the OML house. Hope to see you there. The next event I would like to let you know about is a candlelight vigil in honor of Transgender Awareness Week and Transgender Day of Remembrance. This event is being put on by the RRC and campus ministry and will be honoring the tragic losses of many members of the transgender community over the years. Please come to support and honor the trans community Monday, November 14th from 7 to 8 p.m. at the fountain facing the Mission Church. In addition to the vigil, we will be putting on further events for Transgender Awareness Week, such as a performance by GodX. Please join us to see GodX's Butterfly performance Tuesday, November 15th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in California Mission Room. And finally, to close out Transgender Awareness Week, SIE Kiara will be hosting a paint and sip Friday, November 18th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. in Alameda Hall, room 101. Join us for some relaxing painting activities and delicious mocktails. Believe me, you're not going to want to miss this event. Last but certainly not least, November is Native American Heritage Month. Celebrate and check out various Native artists and musicians by heading to the SCU OML Spotify page and listening to our Native American Heritage Month playlist curated by our fave, DJ Be Nice. Thank you for checking in with the events and all that we have going on. Now let's get back to Nicole and Keanu's conversation.
So generally, like, how has a service like affected your life? What does that mean to you?
Well, like for one, like it definitely it's the best decision I made in my life. for sure.
Glad you don't regret it.
No, I don't regret it. Like I know they should put a little asterisk sign at the bottom of the contract that they have you sign that say experiences may vary. Because they do. Everyone has a different experience. It could be good, it could be bad. Some people get to travel the entire world. Some people have terrible experiences. So it really varied. For me, I felt like I had a good enough of an experience to kind of see enough, just enough to I guess educate myself on the whole situation. But really true, like they're paying for my education in full, which is something I know that is becoming a lot harder for people to do. They have to take out loans and get into copious amounts of debt, and that is crippling itself. So I'm really fortunate to not have that burden in a sense. So I can just, in a sense, focus on school, on supporting my parents and whatever I have going on in my life. And to kind of be able to pay it forward, to also educate the next generation of veterans that are coming out of the service that don't know their options. Because honestly, like I didn't really know what my options were. Like nobody guided me. Like I had to figure this out on my own. One thing I realized about the military is they don't do a great job of helping you transition out into the civilian world. Yes, they do have some transitional support programs, but I feel like it's mainly revolved around people who have served in the military for 4+ years. So they help you with like career stuff to find a job, but nothing was really focused on higher education. So I was thankful to find people that wanted to see me succeed, and I found organizations for enlisted student veterans to get into higher academics, and that was kind of really where I realized like my potential to succeed in higher education, to tell myself to kind of remove that imposter phenomenon and be like, hey, you know what? I can actually do this, and I can leverage my experience in the military to help me get ahead, and I will also be able to help others along the way.
Yeah, that's great. It's even for non-veterans, I think having that experience, like, oh, my experience is different than what the general is supposed to, but like I can still do it. Like there's always a way. I think that's very relatable.
There's always a way.
Yeah,
always. But there's always a way.
Yeah, it might look a little different. There's always a way.
There's always a way.
So transitioning a little bit more to on-campus stuff, just what's up with the Veterans Club? Like, what we got going on there?
To be honest with you, so I got out of the Marine Corps 2019. May 2019. And I started community college after my time in service. And I went to Danza for that time. And I was like looking at schools, like, all right, here's Santa Clara, here's Berkeley, there's Stanford, San Jose State. I was trying to figure out like, all right, what do I want to study? Okay, business. All right, cool. Like Santa Clara, let's, check it out. And really like one of the major turnoffs at the time was that they didn't really have any support for student vets, like at all. And that was really crucial to me at that time, because like I just got out. I know that this demographic is not going to understand my experience at all, and I'm going to have a rough time connecting with people and socializing with people at this campus because of that. So I ended up applying to Berkeley, and they said no. And I was really upset because I was like, damn, I really wanted to go there. So then I looked at Santa Clara again, and I'm like, by that time, I think like 2.5-ish, 3-ish years had already passed. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like maybe it's time to reconsider some things. I've kind of grown as a person. I've got to learn a little bit more about myself, my community. Let's see what they have to offer. So I found the Lead Scholars Program for first generation college students. I learned that they had a pretty good business school, their real estate and construction management programs. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is kind of where I was meant to be. So I kind of feel like it went full circle in a sense. I just had to take a really long detour to kind of get there, which is okay. It was part of my journey. Yeah. And then like still like I came here winter quarter, still like super excited, like all right, like I'm first gen, starting college, I'm gonna make hella friends. None of that happened. And I was like, damn, dude, like all right, I guess I gotta get through this. And it like we don't have a dedicated support staff to help us process our paperwork. Like a few of my friends, veteran friends, their VA payments got messed up because we get paid every month that we're in school as for like a living stipend. And so his paperwork got messed up, and he didn't get paid for that month. So he was like, yo, where's my money? Like I need that to pay rent, groceries, and whatnot. And other student veterans here as well. Like it's not just like me. There's people that are much older than I. They're in their parents. Some of them have crippling disabilities. Some of them are immigrants, or they have a lot of stuff going on, and like I kind of feel bad for us, because it's like I feel like everyone else kind of has their own support group, and whatever they identify with, they have their sense of community, they have their sense of belonging. But we're kind of just here, like we're trucking along, we're doing our thing, we're really not the type to complain, but I feel like it would be nice to have a space for us, just for us to kind of like get together and be like, hey man, are you having a tough time? Me too. Like let's talk about it. Like let's hang out for a little bit and maybe go get a beer. Because it's like it's rough. School is tough. So we're trying to grow the student veteran organization, and it's harder with the quarter system. I feel like it's harder with the amount of things that are in our lives, but just kind of continuously pushing the message, us student veterans getting involved with other stuff on campus, sharing our stories, and letting people know like who we are as people, not just as veterans, because like that is a part of my identity, but it is not entirely who I am. I have other things in my life as well that represent me, that I would also like for people to know, like, hey, like I was in the Marine Corps. Yes, that's a huge part of my identity, but it's not the only thing. There's more than just that.
Yeah, I definitely think a sense of community is important for anyone coming to college, especially transfer students, and especially like people who have no connections to this area or anyone else coming. And that's very hard. It's got to be very hard for veterans. And that's essential for every college student, no matter the age or experience they come from. So Veterans Club is definitely doing important work.
We're trying to.
Yeah. Okay, what is something you want other students and faculty to know about veterans on campus?
We're here. In a nutshell, we're here. It's like, hey, oh man, it's like, I would hope that they see our potential and our character wherever we go, in whatever spaces that we're in whatever classrooms we're in. We have these set of experiences that are unique to us that we wouldn't mind at all to just share, to honestly just I'd love to just have a conversation about life about your experience growing up, like my experience growing up, my time in the military, your time doing whatever you were doing. But really just having those like genuine and authentic conversations. Because funny enough, like I actually learned that some of my peers, like they come from military families. Some of them, like one of my professors, she grew up on a Marine Corp base. Like her dad was a Marine. It was like that is like we connected over that. She's awesome. And a few of my other friends, like some of their parents were in the Army, some of them were also Air Force, like in every branch of the military. And like we start having conversations out of that, and it's just like it's a real genuine conversation. And I appreciate that, you know, like I feel like our professors and our friends, our peers see how we carry ourselves, and I feel like something it's like admirable to look up to, I guess. So yeah, just really having those honest conversations with everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I think people can do that. I
Yeah,
think
and don't be scared. Like I don't think I'm scary. Like honestly, just come up and talk to me, or like I'll talk to you. Like whatever. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
You know.
I can vouch you're not scared.
Thank you.
Okay. How can our campus community change to better support veterans? What would you like to see, like concrete changes?
For one, a definite student veteran center. Just kind of walking around campus, like I've noticed that there's some just like empty spaces, like really not being utilized. I understand there's some politics behind that, or just some bureaucracy, or just something going on that I'm not aware of course. But to have a space for just us would be awesome. To really having that support would be awesome. For the school to recognize Veterans Day would be awesome as well. But I know it's a work in progress. Things take time. But I feel like at the least recognize Veterans Day, and have a student veteran center, and have the support for student veterans, so they're not waiting for their paychecks every month so they can pay for rent, food, and other stuff. Other universities have it. Like it's funny, like Santa Clara has an ROTC program that is like the longest one in the country, and it's like interesting. Like they have that, but they don't have support for student veterans. I feel like they should have a support for student vets and that, but I digress.
Okay. And I definitely think it's important. I know we were talking a little bit about mental health services for veterans.
Yeah.
Towel. I did not know about your paperwork stuff. That's very important. I know there's often a lot of struggles with VA and that paperwork. Like no one knows how to do paperwork already for college, and then to have to go through the government to do for like monthly payments. Like I imagine that's gotta be crazy.
It's a tad
like
stressful.
People were struggling with the stimulus checks. Like I can't imagine doing that every month. Like truly, that's something else.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like I've been talking to Ray Plaza for a little bit. He's helping us out a lot. And he's been letting us know that the people processing our paperwork, they're slumped. Like they already have enough with everything going on in their day-to-day responsibilities with the university. And sometimes the VA adds more requirements to our paperwork, and it adds more of a, I wouldn't say burden, but it adds more work to already a staff that is probably already a little stressed out and burnt out. So just to have like a genuine support for those people and us, like would go a long way.
Yeah, I think so. And even if the university won't put anything on, we'll do something for veterans.
Thank you.
We'll put out a statement. We got to get the students to rally behind you guys.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share? Anything that I missed? Any big points you want to hit?
I feel like we covered a decent amount. I feel like I got to voice a lot of the things that have been on a lot of our minds, as well as my perspective. I also wanted to mention, I got some statistics up. 62% of student veterans are first generation college students. Like kind of knowing that fact was like empowering to me, because like again, like we're kind of going through, as first generation college students, we're really paving the path for ourselves, and coming in as a student veteran, like I do feel alone at times, but kind of just seeing that, like, I know that I'm not alone. And I know that my peers in the Lead Scholar program support me in my endeavors as well, and I'm truly grateful for them. Um, but yeah, that's all I
Okay, no, that's great information. Yes, thank you so much for sharing your
Yeah, thank you,
story and
Nicole.
sharing about the veterans. This has been a great conversation and hopefully inspires listeners to go out and do some more research or advocate with the veterans on
Yeah.
campus or elsewhere. I really appreciate you coming today, and I think this is a conversation that needed to happen.
Thank you. Yeah, Nicole, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you reaching us out, and this was a lovely conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will put some resources in on the digital slide. We have some photos to insert in. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and hopefully you tune in for our next episode. Keanu Spindola is a first-generation college student and Mexican-American that enlisted in the Marine Corp in 2015 after high school. During his enlistment, he worked as an automotive mechanic, began attending night school, and was honorably discharged as a sergeant in 2019. After transitioning back into the civilian world, he participated in the Bunker Labs startup incubator program for military veterans and helped grow the family residential construction business. He later completed the Warrior Scholar Project, which focuses on enlisted veterans' success in higher education, and the Stanford Ignite post 9/11 Veterans Program focusing on innovation and entrepreneurship. He is now studying at Santa Clara University, majoring in management with minors in real estate and construction management. On campus, Keanu is involved with the Lead Scholars Program, Associate General Contractors, Phi Chi Theta Fraternity, Sigma Lambda Beta Fraternity, and the Student Veterans Organization. In his off time, Keanu enjoys spending time with friends, out in nature exploring the great outdoors, binging NPR podcasts, and reading about history, psychology, and business. VA Palo Alto serves all branches of the armed forces. Over the last 6 years, I have been fortunate to be a part of the daily interactions with varied community service providers. As a polytrauma social work clinician, I became acquainted with the Warrior Connection, a nonprofit organization that promotes PTSD group therapy retreats for veterans looking to integrate back to society. Given my professional background as a U.S. Army officer, including trauma expertise, I was recruited to be a board member. As part of the Warrior Connection, I was tasked to keep our veterans on the right track. I know from experience traumatic events can disrupt peace of mind. I have been doing trauma social work for over a decade now. Today, I collaborate with like-minded individuals to better think and act beyond medical limitations. As a result, I help create support networks that others can utilize to reach new horizons. I believe today more than ever, programs like the Warrior Connection helps create stronger and safer communities for marginalized communities, including service members. In fact, I became a direct commission officer in the U.S. Army to better leverage my interpersonal skills and perspective on suicide trends facing servicemen. As a result, I understand best way to uncover invisible wounds is to spotlight systematic problems which can exacerbate communication breakdowns. This way, I help deconstruct mental health stigma by cultivating a safe space for those inflicted by trauma. I believe my training, education, and lived experience allows me to add value across interdisciplinary teams and mixed private and public sectors that leads organizations in the right direction. As a bilingual social worker, my expertise around cultures and ideas allows me to connect with families and individuals from diverse backgrounds. In fact, I am a product of disenfranchised communities, as evident from being part of the Armed Forces and Ronald E. McNair Scholar Program at San Jose State University. I keep education as high priority, considering I have earned multiple graduate degrees from Columbia University. Columbia School of Social Work and School of International and Public Affairs shaped my perspective about being a public servant in the city of New York. Shortly after graduate school, I proudly volunteered to be a direct commissioned officer in the U.S. Army. This enabled me to better leverage my interpersonal skills and perspective on suicide trends facing veterans. I remain passionate about social justice, especially when inequality and callousness diminish hope and optimism.